Hey, thanks for joining us online today. We believe that Jesus wants to do so much through you and for you, and we'd love to hear about how he's working in your life. Please take a second to email your story to stories@rise-church.com. We hope this message leaves you feeling uplifted and encouraged. Enjoy.
You're ready to get encouraged. We're going to do that today. We are in week 2 of our series called Sweet Dreams, What Keeps You Up at Night. If you were here last week, you heard us really open up this series, and we're talking about some major issues in our lives. I had a friend of mine that I ran into this week, and he was telling me, hey, man, I hadn't been to church in a while, and I said, I noticed, and he said, I want to come back. I said, well, come on, you know you always got a seat here, and he said, what series are you in right now? Like me telling him the series might make, oh, that sounds good. Like he wouldn't come unless it's a good series. But I do love this series that we're in, and I just kind of broke it down for him and said, hey, man, we're talking about stuff that keeps you up at night. We're talking about your past mistakes that you lie in bed at night thinking about. We're talking about your present circumstances that you're going through that you're thinking about. And we're talking about the fear of your future that you're lying in bed thinking about things. And so if you were here last week, we kind of really dealt with how do we deal with the pain of our past? How do we not keep ourselves just laying awake at night thinking about stuff, mistakes that we've made in our past. Next week, we're going to be talking about the fear of our future. And so if you're thinking about retirement or your kids and what you're going to do and just every relationships and everything, we're going to be walking through that together. But today I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the purpose of your present. Originally, I was going to call it the pressure of your present, that there's some pressure. We got some pressure going on, but I started studying this word pressure, and I realized I like this word pressure. I'm going to write a whole nother sermon on pressure, and I'm going to deal with today the purpose of our present. If you've lived long enough, you've gone through something difficult in your life. In the church world, we call it going through a storm of life, that life hits you, it knocks you down. Sometimes you see it come. Sometimes you don't see it coming. How many of you, let's be honest in here, I promise you, you won't be the only one. You have gone through a storm in your life. Raise your hand. Look at that. We all are being there. And if you didn't raise your hand, you're just living in denial and you're a liar. And so God will forgive you. God will. And so sometimes our storms are small. Sometimes they're medium. Sometimes they are large. Sometimes they're the hardest thing that you've ever gone through. Somebody in here, this place, this morning, you're walking through some of the most difficult days that you've ever gone through. Some of you, literally, if you shared your story, it's hell on earth right now, what you're experiencing. And so we want to come along today and say, God, how can we have sweet dreams? How can we rest? How can we sleep better at night and not worry about everything that's going on in our present? I want to look at a story in the Bible about the disciples and how they actually went through a literal storm and how Jesus was with them through it all. If you got a Bible, you can go ahead and turn to Mark chapter 4. If you're here today and everything in your life is just sunshine and rainbows, and you wake up singing Kumbaya every morning, you're dismissed right now. You can leave. Odds are you've either come out of something difficult recently, you're in the middle of it, or maybe potentially you're going to go into something difficult soon. And how do we deal with that when it comes? Let's look at Mark chapter 4 and see how Jesus dealt with things. Mark chapter 4, starting in verse 35, it says this, later that day, after it grew dark, Jesus said to his disciples, let's cross over to the other side of the lake. And they had sent the crowd away. They shoved off from the shore with him as he had been teaching from the boat. And there were other boats that sailed with them. Suddenly, as they were crossing the lake, a ferocious tempest arose with violent winds and waves that were crashing into the boat until it was all but swamped. But Jesus was calmly sleeping in the stern, resting on a cushion that he probably got from Hobby Lobby. And if you're a man in here and you're like, what's a Hobby Lobby? Just consider yourself blessed and highly favored by God and hope that you never have to find out what it is. And all the women said, amen. I'm just so glad there's not one near my house. So they shook him awake, which we agreed last week. If you were here, you'll remember this. If you weren't here, you'll get on board really fast. If somebody whatever shakes you awake while you're sleeping, those are grounds to be punched, preferably right in the throat. My kids will wake me up from time to time, and I want to punch them. Everything in me if somebody's thinking, does he punch his kids? I don't, I promise. I think about it, but I don't do it. Don't wake me up from sleep. Jesus is sleeping on the boat. The disciples are freaking out. Now, here's what you need to know. And I love this about Jesus. Jesus took naps. How many of you're already thinking in your mind right now about, hang on, don't put your hand up, about the nap you're going to take, because you know it's going to rain the rest of the day. How many of you are already thinking about the nap you're going to take today? Yeah. Sometimes my brother and I will text after church just celebrating. Well, I'm sure we'll do it today, just celebrating all of this. And we'll just talk about the service and how awesome it was and just everything. And then I'll say, hey, man, what you been doing? And he'll text me back, just woke up from a 3-hour nap. I'll text back, I hate you. Because I got a 4-month-old and I have no idea what a nap is right now. I am a part of Nap Nation, just haven't been able to visit in a while. But Jesus took a nap. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is just go sleep. Because some of you get so anxiety and just everything just built up that you just need to go sleep and just sleep it off. So go take your nap, enjoy it today, and I will judge you from my heart. Jesus is sleeping in the boat, and I got mad respect for Jesus because literally, he's sleeping in the storm. I can sleep anywhere. I don't care if a marching band is outside of my house. I don't care. I live near a gun range. You know what I'm saying? I hear guns going off before I go to bed, because I live on the west side, and so it's not the gun range. It's just the west side. You know what I'm saying? You know, you play the game like gunshot or fireworks. Which one? We don't know. Most of the time it's a gunshot. And you know what I'm just saying? Like, I can just sleep through whatever. Jesus is sleeping through this storm, and the disciples say this to him. Hey, teacher, don't you even care that we're all about to die? Hey, Jesus, wake up. Look around. Don't you even care? Now, I got 3 kids. 9, 7, 4 months old. We'll rule the 4-month-old out because she can't really do anything except just make a mess of her diaper right now. But my 9 and my 7-year-old, it just seems like they get hurt every single day. Something is happening. They get it from their mama. I don't know. Usually it happens when we're playing outside. Sometimes it even happens while we're in the house. And I'll be sitting in the living room, and I will hear a scream come from another room in the house. As a good parent, I get up off the couch, run as fast as I can to them, almost hurt myself in the process, only to find out the reaction does not match the injury. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. And I am proud to say that in some moments, I'm a great dad. And I have great compassion. And I run to my kid's aid, and I see him right there. And I say, oh, are you okay? Let daddy pick you up. You want me to kiss your boo-boo? I'll kiss that boo-boo. My son's 9. I still do it. It's weird. I know. Other times, I lack compassion. And I'll hear him scream. And I'm not going to lie. I don't budge. I'm waiting for 4 more screams. Then I know it's legit. You know what I'm saying? Because I have run too many times into the room only to find out they're going, I hurt myself. Where? Is that a freckle? Like, what is that? Somebody said, if it ain't bleeding, you ain't hurt. But I will look at my kids and they'll say, I need a Band-Aid. For what? So I'll put that Band-Aid on them, but to teach them a lesson, the next day I'll just rip it off as fast as I can. Don't waste my Band-Aids on no boo-boos. And my son, my daughter, 9 and 7, they're old enough to be able to recognize when I'm lacking compassion. And they'll say this to me, hey, Dad, you don't even care. Call you out like that. In the moment, I might not be acting like I don't care because I don't really need to. The concern, they're not hurt. But what my kids will never understand until they're parents one day is that I care more than they'll ever know. because I love them, because I'm crazy about them, and I will always be there for them. Some of you are here today. You're going through a present circumstance. You're in the storm right now. And you're looking around and you're going, hey, God, what's up? Where are you right now? Hey, God, do you even care? And maybe you feel like he's asleep on the job. And I just came to declare to somebody in this place today, you got to know this. He cares more than you'll ever know. Because he's a good God. Because he's a great father. He's a much better father than I am. And I hope that encourages you today. In Psalms 46:1, it says this, God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in trouble. I love that term, ever-present. What does that mean? It means that he's always there. He's ever-present. He's with you today. He'll be with you tomorrow. He'll be with you the next day. Why is he with you? What's he doing when he's there with you? To help you in your time of trouble. This is the God that we serve. So some of you, when you go home tonight, I'm not talking about your nap. Some reason we can just crush naps. Naps like we just fall asleep. I'm talking about when you're laying in bed at night and you're thinking about your current circumstance or situation that you're in and you just can't sleep. I pray that you would rest well knowing that God loves you. When you know that he loves you, you know that he's with you. When you know that he's with you, you know that he's for you. And when you know that he's for you, you know that he's greater than anything that you could ever face. And so when you put your head on that pillow, God, I'm laying down tonight, not worrying another second about what's going on because I know you got this. I don't know how it's all going to work out, but I know that you're good and I know that you're with me. I know that you're present. Let's go on to read the rest of Mark 4 and look at this story. It's talking about Jesus here. It says, fully awake and a little angry because they woke him up. He rebuked the storm and shouted to the sea, hush, calm down. I wonder if God wants to speak that to some of your lives today, to some of your anxiety today, to some of your stress. Hey, hush, calm down. I'm with you. All at once, the wind stopped howling, and the water became perfectly calm. Then he turned to his disciples and said to them, why are you so afraid? Haven't you learned to trust yet? But they were overwhelmed with fear and awe and said to one another, who is this man who has such authority that even the wind and the waves obey him? Another translation of when Jesus woke up is he said these words, peace be still. Why is he able to say peace be still? Here's why. You ready? Because he is peace. Jesus is so much peace. Listen to this. They call him the Prince of Peace. That's the sweetest name ever. And when you're the Prince of Peace, you can bring peace into any situation wherever you go. So when you're laying asleep at night or laying awake at night in your bed and you need some peace, don't pray for peace. Pray for Jesus to overwhelm you because he is peace. And this is how Jesus works. Sometimes he steps into a situation. Sometimes he steps into a moment and he brings peace by healing whatever is going on in your life. Some of you got a boss that drives you crazy. He or she, they just are the meanest, like you just, they're straight from the devil. And all of a sudden, boom, they got a transfer. I hope your boss doesn't attend this church. Listen. That's Jesus stepping in a moment in your life. Healing relationships. Some of you, it's your mother-in-law. She moves back to the other state. If she's sitting by you, don't look at her. He can step in a moment and bring peace to whatever your situation is. Other times, listen to this. You got to know this because your expectation of what you think God should do is sometimes going to be different than what he wants to do. Sometimes he doesn't bring peace to the situation, he brings peace to you. So your world's spinning out of control and you don't know what to do. but he speaks a word of peace into your heart and reminds you that he's with you, and then all of a sudden, you can't explain it, but you look and go, why am I not freaking out right now? And somebody looks at you and says, why are you not freaking out right now? And you go, I don't know. I can't explain it. In the Bible, there's a verse that says that Jesus gives a peace that passes all understanding, meaning it doesn't make any sense. You can't explain it. But even when your world is upside down, you have peace because you have Jesus. So you want to sleep well at night? Apply this verse to your life. Isaiah 26, 3-4. You will keep in what? Perfect peace. Those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. You want to know why you don't have peace right now? It's because you're not trusting in Jesus all the way. And I don't want to diminish anything that you're going through because I know some of you are going through some stuff right now. But we have the tendency to take our eyes off of Jesus and to put them on our situation, to put them on our circumstance. And the more time and the more attention and the more focus you put on the storm that you're in, the bigger that storm grows in your life. But the more time, attention, and energy you put into Jesus and on Jesus, the more peace will grow in your life. That's the goal. So God, help me learn to trust in you, because you'll bring me into perfect peace. Trust in the Lord forever. For the Lord, yes, the Lord himself is the rock eternal. One of my favorite songs we sing here at our church, we call it an oldie. It's only like a few years old for us. It's called The Rock Won't Move. And the whole purpose of that song is this: that when life is spinning out of control, God is the rock that does not move. He's the rock that does not move. Let's go real old school now, because I know some of you are like, that ain't old. Let's go old school. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. Every other piece of ground that I could try to put my foot on is sinking sand. He is the firm foundation that never moves. So your world is going crazy right now. You got stuff that you can't control. You stand on the solid rock of Jesus who never moves. The Bible says that he has a kingdom that cannot be shaken. You feel shaken right now? You need to stand firm on the one that is never shaken. So we've been talking about how to have peace in our present, but that's not my sermon. I didn't call the title of my sermon Peace in the Present. I called it Purpose in the Present, because there is always purpose with God. And I hate when pastors say this, but I'm going to say it. If you haven't heard a single thing I've said this morning, hear this. There is always purpose in your present, because God never wastes your pain. Not an ounce of it. He knows what you've gone through. He knows the hurt you've experienced, and he will never waste it. Now, this is what we need to wrap our minds around, that God is working on a far greater level than we could ever understand. And so I'll say this to you. God is not always the cause of your pain. There are some things that God allows in our lives for a reason. I don't know why. But I don't think God's sitting up in heaven going, I'm going to give them pain, teach them something. That's what we do, parents. Teach my kids a lesson. Let them touch the hot stove. No. Like, God's a good God. He will allow things to happen in our lives, and we live in a broken world. It's all the pain and the hurt that we're experiencing is because of this broken world. We need Jesus to heal it. He will allow things in our lives, but he won't ever waste it. He will bring a purpose through it. Someone, let's put a bow on this. At the end of Mark 4, it was Jesus' idea. Hey, let's go to the other side of the lake. Now, if he's Jesus and he knows all things, you think he knew the storm was coming? Yeah. Why didn't he wait? Why didn't he wait for the storm to pass? I don't know. But they got in the boat and they went. The disciples, freaking out, thought that they were going to die. Jesus ain't dying, because if he died in that moment, he wouldn't have accomplished what he came really to do. So they're in the storm, but Jesus is with them in the boat, and he made it through. Jesus is with you in your boat. He's with you in your present. I don't know how long it's going to last, but you will make it through. You will. And then there's something waiting for you on the other side. Mark chapter 4 ends with them coming out of the storm. Mark chapter 5 starts. You ready? They land on the shore. First thing that happens in Mark 5, a demon-possessed guy comes running up to Jesus. I don't know if that's how it happened, but that's how I like to picture it. Let's all do it together and won't be weird. I'm just teasing. It would be really weird. Everybody would think they're demon-possessed. Demon-possessed guy comes running up to Jesus. And if you're a little weirded out by that, like, it's in the Bible, you can take it up with God. I didn't write it. Jesus recognizes this guy's demon-possessed. The demons in the guy recognize who Jesus is. And they have a conversation, and they go back and forth. And in the end, the demons say, hey, I know you're going to get rid of us. Don't send us back to hell. There's some pigs over there. Can you send us in there? And Jesus is like, sure. So he casts the demons into the pigs. The pigs go running off the cliff. It's where we get the terminology, when pigs fly. I don't know, I made that up, but some of y'all are like, man, I never knew where that came from. That's really good. Maybe, I don't know. And this man who was demon-possessed, they used to try to lock him up. He would break the chains, run around cutting himself, controlled by the demonic, probably excommunicated from friends and family, had no relationships, all because Jesus took him through the storm to the other side, because there was purpose in the present. What are you going through right now? What are you facing? May I remind you that God's with you. He can speak peace into your situation, and then he always has a greater purpose. He always has a greater purpose. In the first service, we baptized a guy and shared his story. His name was Michael Sweeney. Michael was an alcoholic, addicted, consumed his life. But Jesus came in and changed everything. He's a sober man today, and his story ended like this. Because God did it in my life, I know he can do it in somebody else's, and I want him to use me to show other people there's purpose through his pain. Brandy Patrick was baptized at our 10. Her story was this: I thought I was a Christian. I went to church when I was a kid. I thought I believed, but I didn't really know. And it affected some things in my life. My life was good. I wasn't crazy or anything, but it just hadn't changed me completely. She's able to share her story because odds are, even in this group right here, you think you have a relationship with Jesus because you went to church as a kid, but Jesus hasn't changed your life completely. You have not surrendered your life to him. You're still doing your own thing. There's purpose. Renee, eaten up by her past mistakes. But God's grace is greater. Purpose, even through her mistakes. She has a story to tell now. This is what Jesus does. And he wants to do it in you, through you, because there's somebody on the other side of the lake that when you walk through your pain, when you walk through your present, God's going to bring purpose for you to touch somebody else.
Thanks for watching today. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram. If our church has had an impact on you and you'd like to support what Jesus is doing here, you can do so by going to rise-church.com/give and select the giving option that best suits you. Thanks for watching online and have a great week.